everyone, Alexman here, and welcome back to the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time revisit. Last time we became an adult, we also handled our trading side quest with ease, finishing it off, and we also got ourselves our horse. And also, we got this little bad boy right here, the Biggoron sword, and we've basically been using it to demolish all the bosses thus far in the dungeon itself. But also we've completed both the fire and earth, or as a forest temple, and now we're going to that temple eventually. But not before we get some stuff first. As before, we have our hammer, so a few things have unlocked for us in terms of what we can destroy. Now this is a little finicky to get ourselves over here. They just, ow, I had the dot right there. I am using a Braw 64 controller, so it is very sensitive to certain, techniques and everything. Again, I wish I could be using the original 64 controller, but I don't have access to one that works with the Switch. But you may see these two boulders right here. You need to use your hammer on them, and we're gonna see about getting ourselves a next upgrade. Yeah, it's weird they have a lot more. There's a lot of great fairies on Death Mountain. You'd think this would be called Fairy Mountain for how many fairies this place has. We need to play a Zelda Lullaby. Zelda's Lullaby will give us an extra upgrade, which is going to be very useful if we're going to plan to use a lot of magic in the coming dungeons as well. Especially in the Shadow Dungeon, eventually. I'm surprised you're keeping cold in here, knowing that just outside the door is a bleeding hot magma base. Oh, it's right on the Great Fairy of Wisdom. I'm going to enhance your magic power. Receive it now! Like this! Woo! So by enhancing our magical power, that just means that our magic meter is doubling in size. Also, we also get a complete healing rebuff. That's why you see your health show up here. Your magic meter is enhanced! Well, we couldn't even see it either. Your magic power is not enhanced. Now you have twice as much magic power. When battles made you weary, please come back to see me. We're not coming back here anytime soon, so, yeah. Not much about that, but yeah, now we have double magic. And that's gonna make it very, very useful. As now we can now handle everything with ease now, with any type of situation we put ourselves into. Especially if we want to use like the last magic power, which given by the gods is very, very magic draining power. As well, oh look, there's that piece of heart over there on top of that mountain. Yeah, I hope you had some put some plants down for that, because literally, the game doesn't really tell you about how to get over there. You think you can just, roll jump over there? Nope, you cannot. That piece of heart is only able to get by, planting beans, which can be very expensive when early on in the game. Very expensive. But alas, we are done on top of this mountain now. And since we got most of, not everything we want to do in this playthrough up and done, it's time to go to that dungeon. I think it's, yeah, I need to check out that song list once more. We learned this song very early in our adult life, and okay, it's down, right up. Alright, gotcha. Serenade of Water. Let's go that way. The Serenade of Water. Because now we have to deal with the Water Temple. Which to many was everyone's hated dungeon. Not only the fact that the dungeon was a little beefier than normal, no, it was because of the pausing. Yeah, you're gonna love seeing the pause screen for a long time now in this session, because yeah, this is gonna be fun. As well as you may know that like Hylia's temple has basically been kaput, and is the water here is barely drained at all. But we're going to be severely limited in what we can do. So now we have this. Now the 3DS remake of this game did basically fix the iron boots as actually becoming an item, And also the magic boot, the other boots we're gonna get left in the next dungeon. So, honestly, I think it was just a design oversight of what they wanted to do for the first 3D Zelda game. I'm not sure how to actually use it. But, yeah, it's time for us to go into this dungeon, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pause Temple. Yep, I'm calling it Pause Temple because it's exactly what it is. Unless everyone else, every 90s kid was probably screaming and wailing that this temple took forever. And it technically does to a certain degree. Alright, so this temple is full of those creatures right there, and they're going to be quite of annoyances. So we have blue Tektites making their return again, and they can float on water. And after they get swarming you on top, they are going to basically give you a big trouble. Now, the problem about being underwater is that, you know, we have that sword, right? Well, we can't use it. Yeah, we have that big Goron sword and Master Sword. We can't use it. Nope. We are stuck using our Hookshot for basically of exploration and slight damaging of enemies. Which would be cool if this game actually had a mod to use your sword in the water. I would love to see that. But this temple is big, long, and tedious to victory, and it has a gimmick I don't really like. What do you say about not liking? No, not about you, Ruto, okay? Oh, you, if I'm right, Alexman? You're Alexman, aren't you? It's me, your fiancé, Ruto, Prince of Zora. Oh, dang it, I messed up, I forgot. I never forgot the vows we made each other 7 years ago. I didn't make a certain vow, I just did it so I could get that jewel from you. You're a terrible man to have to keep me waiting for these 7 long years. But now is not the time to talk about love. I'm sure you already seen it. Zora's domain, totally frozen. Yep. So, but your father's alive. He's out of the ice, though. He's probably gonna get freeze himself, though. A young man named Sheik saved me from underneath the ice. But my father and the other Zoras have not yet. I want to save them all. I want to save Zora's domain. You have to help me. This is a request from me. The woman is going to be your wife. Ugh. Can you help me destroy the evil monster in this temple, okay? Inside the water tower, there are 3 places where you can change the water level. I'll lead the way. Follow you quickly. And this is after this, she disappears the entire rest of the dungeon. I really wish she had more of a presence in this dungeon, you know? You know, it could have been like how Wind Waker handled the dungeons, you know? Where you actually had a co-op person. I would have loved that for this dungeon. Have Ruto be the ability to able to change the water from higher, lower, and bottom and everything. But this place is a gargantuan maze. I got a sore, I got a thick up throat for all those reasons here. Alright. First off, let's go in here and get to the unique enemy you got here. These, spike enemies. These guys are annoying. They like to swarm you, but they can only be defeated once they have retracted their spikes out of themselves. And they act like small rocks. You can hurt them with your sword, I think. You can, once you're outside the water. But if you're in the water, though, yeah, the only thing you can do is use your... you gotta be careful, though, when actually attacking them while they're in between forms. Man, my throat's a little wonky today. Is that if you're trying to attack them in between forms, they will basically re-extend their spikes at you. It's causing you to basically get hurt. Nothing more, nothing less. Also, this dungeon is big. It's 3 floors, but there is a lot of small keys. A lot of chambers, too. And look at that map. That's not going to help you until you get the compass, which is later on in the dungeon. In the 3DS remake, you see these things here with the Triforce symbol on them. In the 3DS remake, they were made easier to understand if there was low, high, or higher. But get used to playing Zelda's Lullaby constantly in this dungeon. Now, this one right here lowers the water down to 0, to the lowest level. And it didn't... I was on it, game. I'm passed by the Royal Fountain. I just played the song. Why did that work? Maybe it's context sensitive. You have to be really nearby. Sometimes the music can be a little finicky when actually trying to activate these cursed signs to begin with. Dude! Why don't you... Game! There we go. Okay, third time's the charm. So you have to wait until you get right up to it and basically let the thing go do-do-do-do. And now the music will let the water fall. And this is where I hate it the most because... Well, now that's the only time you don't actually hurt yourself here. Now, the game expects you to use the bow and arrow for this. But since we're barely ever using this, I'm just going to use Din's Fire. Because why not? I can use Din's Fire whenever I want to. I have to use this magic power for its intended use, which is basically lighting torches. And killing creatures without hands. But also an introduction to our next new enemy type. The Shell Blades. His internal muscle is its weak point. These guys are annoying because they'll basically be defensive. They'll look at you, they have spikes, and if you don't hit them when they open up their mouth, they'll come back and basically hit you with their spikes. So you have to be quick on the draw. And it gets very tedious, especially when you only have the Hookshot to basically kill them. I'm pretty sure you can hurt them with other items, but rarely do you ever see this creature, this monster, outside of the water. So, you're just basing your compulsions. Hey, you know what? This thing can only be defeated by the... by basically Hookshot. And I'll tell you right now, it'll be quite tedious after a while. Especially that this sword ain't gonna get much action today. This dungeon itself is kinda odd, though. It's like, you just have to explore a lot in all these dungeon places, and there's a lot of places that, I believe are optional, to say the least. Like, there are a lot of places that just basically at the very end of its pathway is either just, Gold Skulltula. Which I'll tell you right now, in the Master Quest version, every area is probably you should go to at least once. And so that you can get yourself that idealistic key or chest. Because it's almost like Master Quest is kind of like a randomizer, you know? It basically makes every chest you want to come across, grab it, because you never know what could be inside. So we're going to have a lot of these floating up things. Now, there's a very keen... I like the style of the dungeon. It looks more, again, I like the thing about Ocarina of Time is that every dungeon you come across has unique art, has a unique style on its own. This is coming from, say, you know, Link's Awakening and Ocarina, or at least in Link to the Past, is that they only just had the basic palette style. This is from when you get to the 3D version of the game here, and you get all these all-new art styles and everything. You get these all awesome things. Flip back to get my token, my useless token. You know, honestly, I'll be cautious how many these gold sculptures I just find on the way. Still, I think over 100 gold sculptures is kind of overkill, if you catch my drift on that. But you know, they would replay in the Maya Mayas in A Link Between Worlds, collecting all 100 of those just to upgrade your gear. Ugh. At least that wasn't as tedious because the game actually told you what areas had which. But in this game, the only time you know when all the gold sculptures are done in a particular area is when you see a gold sculpture symbol on that portion of the map. It's like, yep, you've got them all. I'm like, great. Also, we have to make sure to just double check everything. I mean, this is going to be very long and tedious. This is probably going to be like 3 parts long, I would imagine. Because how big this cursed dungeon is. And I'll tell you, this is not the longest dungeon, but it certainly will feel like it at times. Oh boy. I just don't really like it. I think the only thing I like about this dungeon is really its boss fight in the middle of the dungeon. That's the only thing I like. That's like the only thing that's good about this dungeon. But it's a real shame. But I've always questioned about these temples too. It's like, is this where Now, they call them temples, right? So these basically are people that are supposed to be worshipped. And it's like, what were they worshipping here? It doesn't make any sense what they're worshipping. No, that's something that, you know, it's probably, you know, Hylia, but they never come to it. Oh, and these guys, oh. There you go, take these guys down. Ah! Alright, we're gonna jump this up right here. And then we have to wait for the water to get up. And I jumped it wrong! Oh. Now you have to get back up here. Yeah, this is gonna be one of those things where, like, the door opens up and, you have to wait for the water to restore itself and then the door to get out here. Again, it's all about basically the precision platforming this game supposedly has. You gotta jump right here, and jump across, and there you go. That's basically that's how you are. That's how the game's telling you how to do it from the start. It's basically your tutorial on how to get things done, and then you get here where everything just goes downhill. Oh boy! Again, this is gonna be the fun dungeon. We want to come over here and lay ourselves onto the iron boots here, and we have to get up. We could do it from right here, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough time. I'm going to have to unpause, get the Kikori boots on. At least the boots are kind of, you know, very water resilient. Man, I would be kind of tedious at this, or be angry, because if in context... Oh, dang, I'm going to fall down. I'm going to fall down on that ledge, and I don't want to. There we go. Go right here. Pause. The Temple of Pausing. That's what we're going to call this. The Temple of Pausing. What we want to do is actually hit this. This is where the water's coming from. We want to hit this. Yeah, because your hookshot... This is where the hookshot should have been introduced into as an own item. Which it technically does for what we get in this dungeon. And there's all those cursed mollusks. We're just going to let them do its thing. Because I don't mind them. Because again, you have to go to all these dungeons. You never know which is going to be useful or not. And it's literally these. It's... Every at the end of all these pathways is going to be a small key or some type of chest that reveals something for you. And that's about it. It's... I know I'm basically, you know, beating a dead horse by this point by how many times I'm explaining this. But again, this dungeon is all about... I'm surprised I actually avoided those creatures. They light themselves up to the point where they were going to hit me. Wow, I mean, that's crazy and all. Oh, but man, this temple is just... Now... This temple is just... There's hard enough stuff to talk about in this place because after a while you just want the temple to end. When you feel like you've gone like the midway point of this dungeon, you feel like, yeah, the midway point. We're going to be done with this place, right? It feels like it just goes on and on. It does... It kind of feels like the Zelda designers decided to basically, you know, let's make the world's longest temple, and then they outdid themselves with the later dungeons later on. But at least, you know, like the next temple, the Shadow Temple, is not nearly as tedious as this. Because you don't have to pause and everything. Which, thankfully, in Majora's Mask, they made the... Oh, my God, that's right, I gotta use the hookshot to get out of here. Because the water here is so low. Like in Majora's Mask, they basically made the Zora Link have the ability to raise and lower himself to the bottom of the water anytime he wished without the iron boots, which is probably a criticism they probably had on early on from like comments from news outlets and everything saying this game was tedious. I would imagine that's probably the case in that regard. We've gotten all the keys we can thus far, and now we can enter the center area. This place has a gold Skulltula in it. Yeah, all the way on top, but you're not going to get it until you get the item in this dungeon, which, again, adds more tedium to the matter. The fact that there's always gold Skulltulas in these dungeons also makes it even more worse to travel through. We'll use up this monitor right here. Now, when I first played this, I got twisted and turned around only because I forgot to do this one thing that this dungeon does right here. Is that camera screen shows you that there's a bottom spot right there you can go down on. I totally spaced it my first playthrough. And I got to the very end of the dungeon thinking, which key did I miss? And it was this one right here. And it's like, oh! And again, you're gonna have that experience for the entire dungeon. And at some point or another, you're going to get to the very last portion where the boss key is, and you're going to be like, I can't open up the boss key because the door behind it is locked. You know? It's like, I'm just not... It's not a pleasant feeling when you basically get to the right... And then there's no way of actually warping yourself out, you know? Unless you want to warp yourself to the very beginning by basically using the warp song and getting yourself out of here. Oh boy. Come on, you guys. See, now it's annoying. These guys drop bombs, and it's like, I can't use bombs. It almost feels like this is what they were intended for, is that these spikes were meant to be destroyed by bombs. Which is probably why the only time the reason why they drop those things. But I would imagine if you could actually put these enemies in other dungeons, would you actually have to use them in different situations? Like the clams, I understand, but I don't understand the other enemies though. Mostly, like, why the breeze don't show up here? The breeze and the mullet and the other items. You know, you think other enemies from Jabu-Jabu would have shown up here, but nope. Yeah, that only one path leads to one key. Get used to it, folks. Get used to it.